It's not uncommon for a new sales rep not to know what a 203k loan is. As a matter of fact, if you hadn't dealt with one or haven't been in lending or construction or finance, you probably don't. An FHA 203k loan is a renovation or construction loan that's backed by the Federal Housing Administration. It's available to both buyers and people that currently own a home and want to refinance. And what it does is it combines a traditional home improvement loan with a standard FHA mortgage, allowing the homeowners to borrow the renovation costs and put it into one mortgage, which provides a much better payment than if you had separate home improvement or home equity lines of credit to pay for those renovation costs. Now, there's a couple of different kinds of 203ks, but first, who is eligible for that? Well, the one main caveat for a 203k is that it needs to be an owner-occupied property. That means either you have to currently occupy it and you're refinancing and you're going to intend to continue to live there, or if you're purchasing it to live in the property. It can be a 1 to 4 family property, meaning that it's a multifamily and there's more than one unit attached. However, you have to live in one of those units to qualify for this loan. The only other caveat to that is that certain nonprofits also can qualify for the 203k, but we're not going to focus on that because that's something that we don't typically see. Now, there's two different types of 203ks that you can do. One is called a limited 203k. That's a 203k that's up to $35,000 in repairs. Now, in reality, it's $30,000 in repairs because there's typically a contingency of 10 to 15%, and that has to be part of that $35,000. We'll talk more about the contingency in later videos. You can also, there's no minimum, and the types of repairs require a little bit less documentation. You don't have to have a HUD consultant out there to do a HUD inspection, though we typically recommend that they have that. It's great education for them to find out about the property they're buying. It's not required. If it's going to be over the $35,000, then it's what's called a standard 203k. It used to be called a full, now it's called a standard. There's no limitation on repairs except you are limited up to the maximum loan amount for the area. You can have structural work done, whereas under the limited 203k you cannot. If it's something structural, it automatically has to become a standard. There is a minimum of $5,000 that has to be borrowed for repairs. Typically, you're going to see repairs well exceeding that anyway. And it has 110% after appraised value that you can borrow up to. Now, what does that mean? It means that we aren't just looking at the current value as it is today. We're looking at the after value after the repairs, and you can borrow up to 110%. That's something that's very unique to the FHA 203k. Now, what kinds of things can they do with that? Well, if it's had a HUD inspection, there are going to be health and safety issues that always have to be addressed. They could be things as simple as a stair that's wobbly or a post that's wobbly, or something electrical that has a deficiency. Maybe the GFIs are outdated. It could also be that it's an older home and it could have lead paint, so that you have to work with stabilizing the lead paint. It could have asbestos that needs to be abated or mold. There's a bunch of things that can come up under health and safety, but it's not just for health and safety issues. You can have a kitchen and a bath redone. If they're looking to buy a home or they own a home where that's dated and they want to have that done, certainly the 203k is a perfect vehicle for that. They might want to have their roof replaced, have new gutters put on, have new siding, things like that, windows, doors, all of that can be covered under this. You might see someone who has a deck that's starting to fall apart, or when they're purchasing it, it's listed as a requirement to replace the deck. There's all kinds of things, plumbing, electrical. There's 35 different categories of things that you can have done under a 203k, from septic all the way up to a kitchen and bath. Maybe they're buying a home that's been vacant for a while and people came in and they stole the copper pipes or the wiring for the copper. All of that stuff can be put into a 203k. One of the things you really can't do are luxury items. So for example, if they wanted to use a 203k to buy a home and they wanted to put a built-in the ground swimming pool in the backyard, you're not going to be able to do that with the 203k. If it has a pool and it needs some repair, you can use up to $1,500 towards those repairs, but it's really not designed for the luxury items. It's designed for the health and safety and to upgrade the home for things that are outdated. That's just a little bit of what a 203k is. We're going to dive in deeper on the next video, but understand that it's something that we do often here at Fine Home Contracting, and you're going to learn a lot about.